My name is AJ Van Den Hul. I'm born in 1937. So at the moment I'm 77 years old. From my 10th year of age, I have been involved in audio. It was my hobby, and it still is my hobby. At the moment, I run a company where we have export to 70 countries, and we supply material to 37 different audio companies. It makes life very interesting, but also a little bit complicated, because you have to deal with representatives, and you have to deal with staff, you have to deal with products, you have to deal with new technologies, you have to speak different languages. But altogether, I enjoy life very much, not so much about the money, but more about the opportunities. And I regard it as a blessing to have this age and to be able to do all these things. I founded my company in 1982 after the idea I had about a new stylish shape. That stylish shape originates from 1973. 1975 the first models were made, and from that moment on several cartridge companies were using my stylus. In the meantime, 1.5 million styli have been sold worldwide. That was the beginning of my company. By repairing cartridges, winding new coils, I found differences in sound, what I couldn't explain. So I went back again to my university in Delft and asked, what is the difference between one wire and the other wire? And the answer was, it's the resistance. And I knew it wasn't the resistance, because low resistance coils sounded horrible and higher resistance sounded better. So that was just opposite to what the explanation was. So I made a research myself, and I found several reasons why a metal may work as a metal but not as a good conductor. And that was the beginning of the cable manufacturing we still have, and we distribute worldwide. The main technology is to raise the van der Waals forces in cable. If there's hardly any van der Waals force, that means the binding force between two crystals, few electrons are involved, and a lot of electrons are in the conductivity. That's what reviewers like. The higher the conductivity, the better, but it is a soft metal. Copper is a soft metal, but has very good conductivity. Silver is high conductive, has very good conductivity, but few electrons are involved in van der Waals forces. So I've been looking for improving the van der Waals forces, what means to keep crystals together, to avoid boundaries, and automatically this has raised somewhat the impedance. It's giving and taking, but sound-wise it gives a strong improvement. So I've been looking for combinations of metals, also non-metals, with the highest van der Waals forces, and one of the materials we came up with was a polyacrylonitrile carbon fiber. I've been working a lot to create a higher conductive carbon, because the carbon available in 1985 was not so good conductive. A lot of recordings made by Philips in the Kirov Theater in St. Petersburg of famous operas are all made with our carbon cable, and gave excellent results. The resolution of a pure carbon conductor is much higher than any metal conductor. It misses also metallic sound, it misses also odd harmonic distortion in sound, so the natural quality is topped by carbon cable. That was the beginning of research to find other materials for the same purpose, the top quality in audio reproduction. I came back again with a metal composition, a three metal composition, what we call fusion technology. Afterwards I made research, and we found a 5 metal, 1 non-metal structure. And that's what we have called 3T, and from 2010 up to now 3T has been extremely successful, because it's audible so much better than any standard copper cable, that audiophiles, once plugging in a 3T cable in their audio set, like it so much that it will stay there. So it's building up a very strong reputation in countries where an active importer is an audiophile and likes to listen to music, and not only likes to listen to clink-cloing of money. Audiophiles recognize the quality. The first public appearance of 3T was at a recording we made from Lavinia Meyer, what's a famous harp playing lady in our country. And immediately this became the CD of the year in our country. 50,000 copies were sold. And that's enough for an award, certainly for a classical recording. We have packed this recording regular with our 3T cable. So everyone buying a 3T cable can also refer to a 3T recording, what gives the cleanest sound with metal conductors. We changed from metal to carbon, from carbon to metal, say the regular carbon line to 3T, and now I'm involved in carbon again, and that's called carbon nanotube. Carbon nanotubes are fundamentally graphene tubes in a group together with no impurities involved anymore. Any impurity gives a change in the transmission. Without impurities, electrons have a rather easy path and just run up and down as they normally should do, what gives the best opportunity. Audio Video magazine in Brazil, never giving 100% for any product, gave the CNT 100% in any item. So we have no discussion about the quality anymore. It is 100%. It was a kind of confirmation to what I personally audition also as a very good sound. The biggest blessing in my life are my ears. I've always been very careful not to go to discotheques or too noisy situations. I've always earplugs with me to protect my ears. And by regular training, I'm very sensitive in filtering. Filtering with ears is essential for audiophiles. If you can't filter, you hear everything, but you cannot decide what is correct, what is not correct. But the smaller the filtering in your ears, the better you can find out what is good and what is not good. To train my ears, I go regularly to Vienna and enjoy the Vienna Philharmonic and Symphonic when they make rehearsals in the morning and test playing in the afternoon. I can walk around in the concert hall, in the music verein, and sit anywhere where I like and train my ears. If you don't train your ears, you can't make any pretensions about the product. So trained ears with live music is essential. Not trained ears with loudspeakers and amplifiers. That is a strong correlation. And like adding always pepper and salt on the sound. But if you have without pepper and sound without pepper and sound without salt, it's like pure sound, then it's the best opportunity to train ears. And I advise everyone who calls himself audiophile, go regular to live concerts, even where the musicians don't play well. It doesn't matter. It's the sound what counts. By the reception of cable in the past was certainly our carbon cable. The biggest complaint from the press was that the impedance of the cable was too high and therefore it couldn't sound well. So I told them you should listen and not play games with numbers. For a selected group, our carbon is the ideal project. We have coaxial, we have balanced, and we have a loudspeaker cable. The loudspeaker cable consists of 4.2 million fibers. The impedance is 0.075 ohm per meter. So that's hardly nothing. Connecting fiber is another story, and to connect our third, that is the loudspeaker cable, takes one employee 2 days. So that's one of the reasons why our loudspeaker cable, carbon loudspeaker cable, the third, is not so cheap, because it's labor beside the product itself. With carbon nanotube, we cannot do, because the carbon nanotube is too expensive. The first year carbon nanotube was produced, it produced around 40 gram for the whole year. 40 gram is still enough fiber to make several kilometers of cable, but for real applications, say technical applications, semi-military applications, it's insufficient. So therefore, it's a very selected product, and we are the first company worldwide with a cable made of carbon nanotube. It's also recognized this way, and I'm very proud of that. It was a decision I took several years ago. It cost us a lot of money, but on the end we have the most ideal interconnect you can think about. Beside the cable, we have our phono-cartridges. I made 15 different types for our own program and 6 for other companies. We have a complete electronic line, phono stage called the Grail, a preamplifier called the Emerald, and the power amplifier called the Excalibur. That's a full range. I have at the moment a turntable, what is a little bit uncommon, but we have one because I thought a turntable belongs in the program. Besides that, I produce carbon rings for health reasons. I can modulate the carbon ring and can be used for all kind of problems that cannot be cured by regular medicine. I also have a complete program to be used for medical reasons. I can check people, can measure, and can cure all kind of problems that cannot be cured by regular medicine, especially the more complicated diseases, a 3, 4, 5 layer disease. It's easy to detect the reasons and to cure. That's a part-time operation I do in our country. When I'm in the company, then each day I have 1 or 2 persons coming. We have a session of 1.5 hours. And one of my most successful diseases I can cure is multiple sclerosis. When I say this and it's becoming known, I'm quite sure I have no time anymore to produce any cartridge or to make any trip abroad. Only in our country already there are 16,000 people suffering from multiple sclerosis. And so far, this disease cannot be cured because for the medical world it's too complicated. But by research and a little bit of thinking, I found the reasons why. That's a part of our program. I have developed a tool where I can emit information to cure a person by modulated light. So instead of taking pills and powders and whatever you should do, I modulate this torsion field, and a modulated torsion field penetrates the body and can convert the information the body needs to cure. So instead of antibiotics, you can cure, say, cows with this treatment and save a lot of antibiotics in the milk, but also doesn't help people if they drink milk with residue of antibiotics. That's another part of what I'm doing. My cartridge is, of course, my own one. I have several I like very much. Colibri is a series, then the Crimson one I like very much. Extremely reliable, extremely spacious, very dynamic, healthy output, anything you can think about, and light. The tone arm is the EPA 100 from Technics. The turntable is twice. I have a very good Brinkmann reference, and I have our own turntable called the Point 1. The phono stage, of course, the Grail, the balanced version, the SB, Emerald as the preamplifier, and the power amplifier Excalibur. In the preamplifier, I have already built the torsion field generator, but without modulation. So if you turn on the preamplifier and you turn on the torsion field modulator, the total listening experience improves a lot. I've done experiments in the Munich high-end show where we have used the Emerald with torsion field generator on board. And everyone in the room, when the torsion field generator is switched on, will stay in the room and enjoy the music. When you turn off, after a while people move in and move out. But if it's turned on, people will stay. So it gives a very good feeling of, I feel home, I like it, it's my style of music. The loudspeakers I have at home in my listening room a cappella, specially made for me. And the listening room in the company is using a Cellatone loudspeaker. Cellatone is an old German brand created by grandfather Potschus. Grandson Potschus is now running the company. The drivers are made of 6 micron thick aluminum foil, then a foam layer, and then another 6 micron aluminum again. So it's aluminum, foam, aluminum. It's extremely light, extremely stiff, extremely fast, and it gives excellent sound distribution. We use always these speakers during the Munich Hive End show. Let me first say something about cable. As long as you use the regular materials like copper, silver, gold, platinum, the risk of harsh sound is there, because any movement you make with the cable creates fractures. And a fracture is an area between 2 crystals. So there's a crystal here, crystal there, and there's a fracture in between. The signal has to pass here. And if the electron speed is not high enough, electrons cannot pass. On the end, if you have a complete fractured cable with a lot of crystals, the upper part of the sine wave will pass, then there will be a time zone with the out transmission, and the under part of the sine wave will transmit. So you get this shape. This shape gives odd harmonic distortion. A lot of audiophiles like odd harmonic distortion because they think it's more accurate, more precise. But what they forget, that odd harmonic distortion is a kind of distortion, a kind of harmonic distortion, what is not available in the instruments. If Stradivarius made his best violins, there's hardly any unharmonic sound available in the instrument when it's played well. With this cable, you add unharmonic sound. As main subject, it creates a kind of screaming center between 2 loudspeakers. With carbon cable, there's no screaming center. With 3T, there's no screaming center. As long as you use regular cable, you hear a kind of screaming in the sound between the 2 loudspeakers. It's the common sound of the distortion of one cable and the other cable. If you want to check if your sound is screaming, I can give you the following advice. Have someone, when you play the music, standing at, for instance, at front of the left speaker. So the right speaker is open, the left speaker someone is standing for. As soon as the sound moves to the right speaker, you have screaming sound. If the sound is still in the center, there's no screaming sound. What means you can check your own cable, no measurements, just by having someone, say your girlfriend, or an audiophile standing at front of the left speaker, for me, for you the right speaker, and listen to the shift of the sound. The less the sound shifts, the better your cable. It doesn't say anything about capacity, it doesn't say anything about frequency response, but it says something about the distortion. We made a lot of experiments in our company with solder. First thing, when you solder, don't move minimum 10 seconds after the soldering, because you recrystallize the solder. Second, have a cleanest solder as you can, because to make a very pure cable and use dirty solder is contributing to bad sound. It's clean in the middle, dirty on the ends, on both ends, and you still take decisions about the cable. No, you take decisions about the solder or the connector. So have clean connectors, clean solder, and you may say something about the cable. As long as you don't have the 2 ends under control, you can't say anything about the middle. The layout of a cable is not so important. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's certainly not so important. The material itself is the most important thing to make a good sound. The environment, say the insulation, the screening, and all the other items you like to add are less important. If you focus on insulation material, then you focus on the not right thing. I'm not saying it's unimportant, but certainly it's for first impression the conductor. Mechanical treatment of a conductor makes fundamentally the quality. So you can have say a roll of copper and pull the copper wire through a die to make it thinner. Through another die, make it thinner, and make it thinner till you have on the end your 0.5 millimeter or whatever size you like. Any movement of copper through a die changes the copper. especially when the temperature raises somewhat because of friction, the copper surface oxidizes. And if you pull it again, you have an oxidized copper somewhere in the conductor. All these impurities reduce the transmission of quality. So have a copper drawing process in an inert environment like we do. Automatically the oxidation is less or zero, and you don't mix in a pure copper wire a lot of foreign strange particles that create differences in sound. A cable, when you bend the cable, changes already the structure. You will not notice because it's minor. But in an industrial process where a lot of winding and unwinding is done, the cable is bent, stretched, bend, stretched, bend, stretch again. So you start already breaking. And cracks from the outside move already to the inside. So only the center of the cable is still intact and the outside is already damaged. If you buy a wire, you're never sure what happened before. It's just the thing as you have. The next meter may be different. So if you start your own cable production, your first meter may be correct, but the second meter you sell to friends may have a different sound. And if they bend regular, then the sound changes also. Therefore, when a cable is burned in, never move it again. So if an audiophile is happy with this equipment on Sunday evening because everything is burned in, he may be very unhappy on Friday because his wife came, lifted the loudspeaker cable, vacuumed the floor, and the cable fall down on the floor. This is enough to change the sound of a cable. So you have to play a whole weekend again before the sound is okay on Sunday evening. And the same thing happens the next week again. So strictly forbidden for ladies of audiophiles to clean the room. That may not sound very pleasant for the lady, but that's the only way how to maintain the quality of the conductor. Therefore, my advice is start with conductors that are not critical for bending. So conductors with very high van der Waals forces. And therefore we came up with 3T products, came up with carbon products, and if you use these cables, your wife can clean the whole day the room, the sound will not change. I've made power cable in our program with strong filtering, not for low frequencies, but for higher frequencies. If you listen to the power signal, it's not 50 Hertz. There is 50 Hertz, but there's a lot of pollution. If you can filter out the 50 Hertz, you hear a lot of pollution on the cable. All kind of noises, all kind of signals. The mains are not made for this, but are used for this. I made a cable with a higher serial inductor and a higher parallel capacitor. A lot of pollution is collected by the mains because the mains act as an antenna, and the mains is used for a lot of signal transmission to generate all kind of actions in a building or traffic lights or whatever. All these signals also penetrate your hi-fi, and hi-fi is extremely sensitive for those signals. Most amplifiers don't have a good filtering, so part of that signal enters in the circuitry and does not create a black rear, what I call a really black rear. There's no noise, no sound, nothing. There's always noise and there's always sound in the amplifier. The better the filtering, the lower the background noise, the more the clear the picture becomes. So I've made a mains cable with a serial inductor and parallel capacitor. What acts as a twice times 6 dB is 12 dB per octave. It starts to become active at 50 kilohertz, 100 kilohertz. So we filter out megahertzes and whatever. 1.5 meter is the minimum what I advise with this cable. It's called the mainstream. If it's shorter than 1.5 meter, the filtering is not enough, and when it's more than 1.5 meter, the benefit is that you filter better. So a mains cable is on the end, after a lot of signals penetrate the mains cable, the filter to avoid high frequencies entering in your hi-fi set. The high frequencies pass mostly the capacitive load of the transformer, becomes in the secondary part of the transformer, and in a way it goes everywhere in an amplifier. So therefore, the better your filtering, the cleaner the sound. That's a rule. By adding just capacitors to ground doesn't help so much. So from the plus to the ground and the minus to the ground doesn't help so much because still signals can pass and the ground is not clean. So the modulated ground still modulates the plus and the minus. For that reason, I advise make your own ground. What I've done in my system also, I've disconnected the ground, made a copper pin with stainless steel in the groundwater, and I have my own ground, and that changed the sound completely. So a little hint is make your own ground. If you have a flat and you live 12 high, then to make your own ground is a little bit complicated, because if you start drilling, you may go to a bedroom and drill through persons and drill through a bed and drill for anything. So be careful where you start drilling. Better to have on the outside of the flat your ground connection. But it's really a blessing. Ground is mostly forgotten. And that's a pity, because ground is essential for clean sound. If you have not correct ground, then automatically the washing machine and the computer and the laptop and whatever is in the house, refrigerator, modulates on the ground and modulates your sound system. And it's very difficult to make a good amplifier with so polluted sound. For that reason, it's better to have a kind of mains conditioner. We don't have in our program. I have at home and I use at home, but I don't have a mains conditioner. What is fundamentally a 50 Hertz generator with a power amplifier. So the output is 50 Hertz precise, and that generates your power you need for a CD player, preamplifier, or power amplifier. I cannot change the world. So if the world thinks digital is convenient, they are right. If they think digital is better, I have my doubts. But the whole industry needs pulses to create sales. And if you can't create sales anymore in analog, then you create sales in digital. My personal taste is analog, and I will stay analog even where I have digital recorders at home and make my own digital recordings. So I know what it can do. I have several converters. But if I really want to enjoy music, I play analog. But digital will certainly change this world. I'm afraid that digital also will change the identity of people. Digital is not just the signal processing, but it's also Big Brother. With analog there was no Big Brother. With digital there's a lot of Big Brother. So by going digital, it's a very easy way for governments and commercial systems to find out what you do, what you think, where you go, what you like, what you don't like. That's the main reason for me to stay on analog, because I respect everyone's personality and identity, and as long as things are moving so fast direction digital, and I'm afraid that on the end we have no identity anymore. Everything is known to everyone, and that's something I don't think what's the right way to live. Most important decision is the cable that has the lowest signal. So a cable from a tone arm to the phono stage is very essential. And the cable inside the tone arm, because that's fractions of millivolts. Defects in the cable with fractions of millivolts show up more dramatically the quality of the cable than when you talk about faults. So a loudspeaker cable, how good it is somewhat less important than a low-level cable. So if you want to make steps to improve first your tone arm cable inside the arm, on the arm, then the cable from the phono stage to your preamplifier, then the cable from the preamplifier to your power amplifier, and on the end the loudspeaker cable. Then you follow a logic path. You may do different, and you will see also improvements, but it's not becoming completely organized. If you want to do these things, do it organized. So have a rule, have a standard, have things you like to. I strongly advise to use a CD recorded with all carbon or 3T. 3T is our new metal technology, because that gives extremely clean sound. To start with a CD with dirty sound recorded over a dirty cable, never tell you the truth about a good cable. It's the same as when you do your laundry. You wash your laundry with dirty water. You never see if the laundry gets cleaner or not cleaner. So start with very, very, very clean sources. Or analog, if it's a right one, or a CD and then recorded with 3T. This is a little bit of promotion of our 3T, but as long as the company exclusive recording with 3T, Channel Classics, becomes the recording company of the year by the Gramophone in England, it proves that 3T is a correct decision to work with, to listen to, and to apply in recordings and in replay.